Welcome to another episode of Terry's Notes, and today I'm going to be looking at the May 2016 paper, question 8. Now this question would have posed a lot of challenge to many students because it was not that straightforward in my view, right? And this is not something that you can teach students how to do it. It requires lots and lots of practice. So you were given 3 diagrams, figure 1, 2, and 3, and you had to recognize what the pattern was. So as we move from figure 1 to figure 2, we notice that at this point here, at these points, we are adding this. Alright, so what is adding to the figure is this shape, right, which represents a knot and 2 strings. So as we move from figure 2 to figure 3, right, what we notice is that we've added this, and this, right? And what you had to do now was draw the next figure in this sequence, right? So the next figure in the sequence, let me see if I can fit all of this here. So we have this, alright, let's make sure I'm doing this properly. Alright, let me come on this side now. We're gonna have this, we're gonna have this. So on this side, it's gonna be this. Alright, so this will be figure 4 in the sequence. Alright, you have to be very careful with this diagram. Now, let's go to the table now. Alright, so let me go back to the first figure. So what we are looking at is figure, so we have figure 1. And if we look at the number of knots we have, which is let's call the figures n. So this is figure 1, figure 2, and figure 3. And the question told us k is the number of knots. So in this first instance here, the first knot will be in figure 1. We have 1 knot. And how many pieces of strings do we have? We have 1, 2, 3 strings. Alright. And in figure 2 we have 1, 2, 3 knots. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 strings. And then in figure 3 we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 knots. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Hold on, I think I added that wrong. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Alright? And from this now we need to figure out what the pattern is, right? So in the case of knots, we first amount of knots we have is 1, followed by 3, followed by 7. If we look at the differences between the numbers, it's not a clear, it's not a fixed amount. So between 1 and 3, that is 2. between 3 and 7, that is 4, but you can't really determine the pattern as yet from that, right? Just look at the table here, one sec. Right. Okay, so based on the information only that they have given us, right, we can see that to find the number of knots, what we can do is the formula might be 2 to the power of n minus 1 for knots. So let's test it out. If n is 1, then 2 to the power 1 minus 1 will give me k is equal to 1, right? If I plug 2 into this equation, I will get 2 to the power 2, which is 2 squared, which is 4. 4 minus 3, we get, so 4 minus 1, we get 3. If we put 3 into the equation, it'll be 2 to the power 3, which is 2 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 2, right? We're doing that 3 times. So 2 cubed is really 8. 8 minus 1 gives me 7. So this is correct. Then for the next equation, for the number of strings, it'll be s is equal to 2 to the power n plus 1 minus 1. Alright, now let's test it. If we plug 1 into this equation, we end up with 2 to the power 1 plus 1, so that's 2 squared. 2 squared is 4, and 4 minus 1 is 3. So we get 3. If we plug 2 into the equation, it becomes 2 to the power 2 plus 1, which is 2 cubed. And 2 cubed we know is 8. 8 minus 1 will give me 7. So it's correct. And in the case of the third figure, if we plug 3 into the equation, it becomes 2 to the power 3 plus 1, which is 2 to the power 4. And 2 to the power 4 is really 16. And 16 minus 1 will give me 15. So based on the information they've given us only, this is what I've been able to come up with. So my advice to you, if you get a question like this in the exam, you should probably come back to this, do this question last, because it requires some thinking and you can spend a lot of time working on it where you can be gaining marks elsewhere. Alright, so let's go to the table now. So we already know the formulas for the patterns. So in the case of the knots, we know that k is equal to 2 to the power n minus 1, and we know that strings is equal to 2 to the power n plus 1 minus 1, right? So we know the formulas. So when n is equal to 4, what is k equal to? So we're just gonna plug it into the equation here. So it'll be 2 to the power 4 minus 1. 2 to the power 4 minus 1 is really 16 minus 1. So therefore, this is really 15. Right? So the first answer here is 15 for the number of knots. In the case of the number of strings, it will be 2 to the power 4 plus 1 minus 1. Right? Which is really 2 to the power 5. 2 to the power 5 is 32. So it'll be 32 minus 1, which is equal to 31. Right? So this is the answer here for this one. This is the answer for this one. Now in the second part now, they gave us the number of strings. They said the number of strings is equal to 255. So we plug that into our formula because we need to find n. So 2 to the power n plus 1 minus 1 is equal to 255. So 2 to the power n plus 1 is equal to 255 plus 1. So 2 to the power n plus 1 is equal to 256. Right? And this will be 2 to the power n plus 1. 256 can be written as 2 to the power 8. And you see at this point here, we can say that n plus 1 is equal to 8. So therefore n is equal to 8 minus 1. So therefore n is equal to 7. So in this case here, n is equal to 7. and we need to find the number of knots, k, which will be equal to 2 to the power n minus 1, which is 2 to the power 7 minus 1, which is equal to 2 to the power 7 will give us 128. So this will be 128 minus 1, which is 127. So this is 127. Alright. And the last part, they told us that n is equal to 10. You have to find k and s. So this will be 2 to the power 10 minus 1. Well, at this point, you can just use your calculator here. So 2 to the power 10 will give me 1024. Minus 1 will give me 1023. 1023. Then for the number of strings, it will be 2 to the power 10 plus 1 minus 1. So that is 2 to the power 11. So 2 to the power 11 is equal to 2048 minus 1 will give me 2047. Alright, so yes, this question was a hard question for most students. I want you to look at it again. It's not something that we can teach. Students have to be able to recognize patterns given certain pieces of information. So what I suggest that you do is try to get as much past paper questions regarding patterns and try to recognize what the patterns are. Okay.